I don't know about you guys, but one of the scariest things to me in life is getting lost on an island, with my loved ones doing their best to find me but potentially never being able to because of the vast and unknown terrain of this hypothetical island. But unfortunately for a lot of people, this isn't just hypothetical, and it's a harsh reality that a lot of people go missing on islands every year. And in this list, none of them were found alive, if they were found at all. Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Mackenzie Smith, and today on Most Amazing, I'm going to be breaking down the top 10 mysterious islands where people disappeared. But before I get into it, make sure to like, subscribe to the channel, and follow our socials to see more of us. And without further ado, let's get into that scary list. Starting off with number 10, we have Vancouver Island. Vancouver Island is a beautiful island on the west coast of Canada where tons of tourists go to visit each year. But the island has a dark secret, and that's the fact that more than 3 dozen people are currently listed as missing on the island. For some families, it's been years since their loved ones were last seen on Vancouver Island, with the oldest disappearance dating back to 1978. Lindsay Nichols is one child that went missing when she was just 14, with her disappearing in late July 1993 while walking along Royston Road in Comex Valley. On the 25th anniversary of her disappearance, her mother said she literally vanished, and her family really needs to know what happened to her. The RCMP has received over 400 tips and done 15 polygraphs related to that case, but there are still no answers. And because missing people on the island are growing each year, citizens have taken the matter into their own hands, with Felicity Camp creating a Facebook group after a person she had a personal connection with disappeared on the island. Currently, that group has 700 members and grows with each new missing person that is reported, with her saying in a statement, quote, "People don't just disappear. Someone has to know something. Some of them are just baffling." In at number 9, Thai island of Koh Tao. British backpackers David Miller and Hannah Withridge planned a vacation to a beautiful island in Thailand for a peaceful getaway, but the vacation did not end up that way, as on September 15, 2014, their bodies were found on the island of Koh Tao in Thailand after being missing for days. The two hadn't known each other before going on the trip, and met each other while they were both backpacking in Thailand. After their bodies were found, it was discovered that the two had suffered from head wounds, and authorities determined that they were beaten with a garden tool. 2 Burmese migrants were the main suspects for the crime, although they denied being responsible, and the 2 men were sentenced to death in 2015 for the crime. In at number 8, Eileen Moore. Eileen Moore is a remote island on the Flannan Islands, and it wasn't inhabited by anyone other than the lighthouse keepers. And even though nobody lived there, people were very intrigued by the island, and many people came to visit it hundreds of years ago. The lighthouse was built in 1895, and not only was it a geographical nightmare, but it was also allegedly haunted by unearthly dwellers, with various urban legends being made about the island. In the year 1900, Captain James Harvey and Joseph Moore set sail to the island, but when they arrived, no one was there to greet them on their arrival, even though they had blown the horn multiple times. Joseph Moore then went to check on the lighthouse, and was shocked to see that the door to the lighthouse was unlocked, and there was half-eaten food laying around with an overturned chair sitting on the ground. Then the 2 men decided to search the island, finding nothing after hours of searching. When even more people got involved, they discovered some unusual lighthouse entries in a diary from days before the disappearance, saying that the winds were the worst they had been in 20 years, even though there were no reported storms in the last few months. The men continued searching for days, even calling in help, but they were never found, and even hundreds of years later, people are still trying to figure out what happened, with the island still being best known for the disappearances to this day. In at number 7, the lost colony of Roanoke. The lost colony of Roanoke is one of the most widely known disappearances of many people going missing on an island, as 100 settlers who were living on the island, now located in North Carolina, disappeared in the late 1580s, and it still remains unsolved. The colony was established by John White, who left the colony to go to England to get supplies, but when he returned years later with the supplies, the settlement was gone. The only clues that were left were the word Croatan carved on a fence post and crow on a tree, as well as a skeleton. Croatan was the name of a native tribe that lived on Roanoke as well. The tribe was never found, but there are many theories of what happened to the people. The most popular is that the tribe encountered some sort of disease that wiped them all out, or that they clashed with another group, and none of the people survived that war. And at number 6, the Greek island of Crete. Suzanne Eaton, who was a molecular biologist, disappeared while out for a run on July 2nd of 2019, and she was visiting the island for a medical conference. Her family promptly came to the island to help and find her, with the story being shared all across the world. But unfortunately on July 8th, her body was found, and she was found in a former World War II bunker after she was abused and suffocated. After extensive investigation, a 27-year-old man was charged for her murder. Halfway through number 5, Belize Island. On January 8th of 2020, Allison Mackenzie went missing fishing on a small island in Belize, and the disappearance is very strange. Mackenzie was on a catamaran tour in Rendezvous Key, Belize. Her and the group, including her boyfriend, arrived on the small island on a Friday night, and by Saturday morning, she was missing. And the strangest thing is that no one lives on the island. It's only really used for tours to come through like that one. Police told the news that she was reported to have been last seen walking around the island around 10 p.m. on the Friday night, and her boyfriend woke up to her not being in their bed and not being able to find her. The Belize police believe she could have been drunk and drowned in the water while swimming, but her family doesn't believe this is true, as they claim she'd never been drunk in her life. And the sad part is that Allison has still not been found, and her family is still searching for answers. In at number 4, Venice Island. One of the most haunted islands in the world is in Venice, Italy, and it's so badly haunted that the Italian government won't let anyone anywhere near it. The island, called Poveglia, was used for many terrifying purposes back in its heyday. Firstly, it's a massive graveyard, with more than 100,000 people being buried on the small island, with most of the bodies being from plague victims in the 14th century or asylum patients in the late 1800s. And since there is such a large amount of bodies in such a small island, the soil is now roughly 50% human remains. Ugh. And many urban legends have stated that the voices of the dead can be heard on this island, with human remains being well known to wash up on the shore. And there are many stories of people that have visited to never return. And even though nobody is supposed to set foot on the island, daring people still do, with some tourists illegally visiting the island in 2016 and attempting to stay overnight. But the tourists were so scared by whatever was on the island, their terrified screams were heard on nearby boats. And I actually visited Venice recently and I had no idea this existed. I would have totally loved to go on a boat ride around it or something, but also considering how haunted it was, it's probably best I didn't. And at number 3, Lost. The television show Lost is probably one of the most terrifying islands ever portrayed on TV or movies. The premise of the show is that it follows survivors of a plane crash that landed on an island between Sydney and Los Angeles in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. But what makes the island so terrifying is that it's surrounded by a shield of electromagnetic energy, which causes displacement or even death if people try and leave the island. But that's not the only creepy thing about the island, and there's literally so much scary stuff surrounding the island it would take hours to explain. But in summary, the creepiest stuff is the electromagnetic field that changes the residents of the island for good and bad, the time travel, and the whispers that they hear. The survivors of the plane crash were on the island for 108 days, but don't worry, I won't spoil the ending for you guys. In at number 2, Alaska's Bermuda Triangle. Next up, we have the very strange disappearance of people inside of an area called Alaska's Bermuda Triangle. The triangle stretches from the state's north coast from Barrow all the way to Anchorage and to Juneau across the southern coast, and it's filled with mainly unexplored wilderness. And thousands of people have been reported to have gone missing within this triangle, with hundreds of search and rescue missions conducted each year, but troops rarely finding anyone dead or alive. The triangle first got mainstream attention when US House Majority Leader Hale Boggs' airplane vanished in the triangle in 1972. This disappearance triggered one of the nation's largest search missions ever, spanning 39 days, covering an area of 32,000 square miles. But nothing was ever found, no bodies or even debris from the plane. But this wasn't the only plane to ever do this, as there are many cases of planes going down in the region. Since 1988, more than 16,000 people have vanished in the Alaskan Triangle, resulting in 4 missing people for every 1,000 people living in Alaska. So I think the moral of the story is to not ever go there under any circumstances. Up at number 1, Amelia Earhart. And topping this list we have Amelia Earhart. The disappearance of Amelia Earhart is one of the most talked about of all time. She vanished roughly 80 years ago while she was attempting to fly around the world with her navigator Fred Noonan. But unfortunately both disappeared during this expedition and were never found again. However, a photo that was discovered recently looks to show 2 people that resemble Earhart and Noonan on a dock. And many analysts have now studied the photo, and they've determined that the photo is not photoshopped or doctored, and they also feel confident that it's the 2 pilots that were missing, with researchers determining that these photos must have been taken on the Japanese-controlled Marshall Islands, after the pair made some sort of crash landing. However, the theory of why they were never heard from again isn't a happy one, with people thinking that they could have both been captured by the Japanese, with them thinking the pair were some sort of spies, with some theories even debating whether Earhart was actually a spy, and the whole mission was actually just a lie for her to go spy on other nations, with some even thinking that the Japanese knew this and that's why they killed Earhart, and she was never heard from again. Alright everyone, that's all for that list. Let me know what you're thinking about all this below. For me, it's now just guaranteed that I will literally never go to an island, and if I do for some reason, I better bring something to protect myself. But also, if some of these disappearances had to do with supernatural things, I mean, nothing I could really bring would help me, right? Okay, but before I head out, I'm gonna shout out some comments from my scary Randonautica experiences on TikTok part 2. So one user said, my intention was take me back in time, and the intended location was a building with work happening. In the skip dumpster was a box of video cassettes. It was the first season of Friends. That took me back. Wow, that's a really cool story. And it's like I hear stuff like that and I'm like, that can't just be a coincidence, right? Then Jose said it resulted that there wasn't any leg with the shoe. That's because they returned the next day to prove if it was only the shoe or not. Greetings from Honduras. Thanks so much for that update. I was really wondering on that one because that one was really creepy, but good to know. Then Star Knight said, I've never wanted to download TikTok, but this makes me want to download it. Honestly, I can't even lie to you. I'm addicted to TikTok. It's just so fun, and there's so much more on it than the dancing, I promise you. Like, so much good content in like so many genres. But also, might be getting banned. I guess not. Anyway. That's up in the air, but I'd still download it if I were you. Then Ashley said, I don't know if Homegirl's been a host on here before, but she should definitely be on here some more. Thank you so much. Comments like this honestly just brighten my day. I don't really know what my future is on the channel, but hopefully I'll be making more videos in the future. I guess we will both have to wait and see. Alright everyone, that's all for the video today. Thank you so much for watching if you made it all the way here. And again, make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. And I'll see you on the next one.